Friends, good evening. I hope everyone is well. I really do mean that. Let's talk stocks. What's going on here? Obviously, bloodshed has been hit here, found again here in the market, and it's been a rough day. Let's talk about it. One of the worst days in a while we've had here, but this just seems to be the norm with what's going on right now. So, if you're upset right now, it's completely understandable, but we're going to get through this, okay? Don't worry. We're going to get through this, I promise you. So, as you know, the government opened back up here, but the government's open back up, and the bill that was signed, there were some things slid in there at the last moment that got revealed. The market kind of didn't like that, but nonetheless, too, essentially, what's coming out here too is that, tech stocks once again are coming up as, is this a tech bubble? The market is looking for two things right now. It's so obvious. The market is looking for, hey, you need to sell everything, get out of the market right now. I mean, that's half the theme right now. Then the other theme is, okay, buy the market, buy. So the market's going to do another run here. All the big analysts, everything's saying, hey, the market's going to do another pump here. So we have both these extremes just colliding with each other. It seems to be on a daily basis here in the market, and one of them wins. We either had the market going crazy or we had the market selling off dramatically. So, I mean, for swing traders, I mean, we're doing very well. I mean, if you're day trading, swing trading in and out of this market, I mean, there's some things that have done parabolical numbers here from a Monday to a Friday here. So, there's still money to be made in this market, 100%. But with that, I think this is kind of one of those times where really, unless whatever kind of trader you are, what you're doing, this is a perfect time to like say, okay, what am I doing? I'm hunkering down here, I'm holding positions, and I'm buying into positions here. And I think that's a great theme for a lot of people right now because, here's the thing. We talk about AI bubble collapse or just a general collapse in the market. We're still in this bull market. We haven't seen enough time, data, anything to say that we're not. Okay. One thing that will be undeniable with the collapse of whenever this market decides to do that, whether it's a month, a year, 2 years, 5, whatever it is, no one really knows. One thing's for sure is that we want to make sure we're getting into stocks that are going to continue to grow, companies that are proven to be doing very well, they're on the side here from the competition, doing very well, innovation, everything. And then stocks that seem to be are getting a lot better and doing more things here, and that could really be something special. So that brings me to my next conversation here, just for a short moment here. I do want to bring your attention to, because people ask me all the time, why don't you talk about the stocks? There's things that I do a lot of things in the market, okay? I don't talk about everything, but I want to bring your attention to some other stocks that I am eyeballing on a daily basis. You're crazy. What's going on with them? What are they doing? What is this company doing? Just some things that I'm very obsessed with. One thing is for certain here. Next week, Wednesday, after market closes, NVIDIA will be releasing their quarterly. Now, there's, obviously, NVIDIA holds so much power in the market. So the last two quarterlies we've seen with NVIDIA obviously have been fantastic, and there's not, I got hiccups here, drank a lot of coffee. There's not too many analysts going against the grain right now with NVIDIA saying, hey, we don't think they're going to make these quarterlies. That's not really the conversation. More the conversation of what where they're touching the edge of it is that they're just looking for any doubts that NVIDIA is going to start to have trouble here. Now, if NVIDIA does release bad quarterlies, which I don't think anybody's expecting them to release bad quarterlies. It's quite the contrary. Even Jensen has come out recently and be like, we can't make these things fast enough. Okay, we're expecting NVIDIA to have just another normal good quarterly. That's just kind of how it is at this point. So the market, obviously, I don't know if the market will do spectacular numbers Wednesday, Thursday of next week. When NVIDIA comes out with quarterlies, the market may just go, okay, well, we got good NVIDIA results here. So, that's good. That's a good standing pillar in the market. Things that I am looking at right now and things I am buying for long-term holds here or swing trades, maybe some of you, what you're doing here. First, Robinhood markets, I think bank stocks are going to do very well next year, obviously, because one big thing is obviously Jerome Powell is going to be leaving. He's already got his Harvard boy ready to take over, and that guy is probably going to push rate cuts like we've never seen before. So with that, housing stocks, bank stocks, some mutual funds, a lot of ETFs are probably going to do very good next year. Now, obviously, economically, we don't know where we're going to be, what's going to be going on. But, rate cuts imply, cheap money that people can borrow, which bank stocks obviously are going to make money off of. Robinhood is something that I am continuing to look at here. And obviously, Robinhood, they're trying to push into a bank, a foundation here. That's one thing that's their next big innovation plan here. But two, for them as a trading site, they're doing very well, and they're going to continue to do well. There's no doubt about it. It's becoming the beginners, middle, long-term traders platform. Robinhood is definitely going to continue to do great numbers here into the future. SoundHound could not be doing better. They just came out with their third quarterly. It was right on the money. As far as I'm concerned, this company is still doing great numbers, and this is jaw-dropping what they got going on. Rich Tech Robotics. Rich Tech is in this lingering stage here where it is essentially had a lot of good news, a lot of good things have happened to it. I would not be surprised for anything to happen any day, any time, any week, any month here for something else to be good said about it, for something could happen to it. And they've got quarterlies coming out in January. So right now it's taken a beating from the market 100%. It's taken a beating, and I if you know me, you've heard me say I believe in robotic stocks quite a bit, and I think they're going to do very well here into the future. So I think Rich Tech could get a lot more attention, especially going into next year. So, but that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. I totally get that, when we talk about robotic stocks. Schwab here. This is a dividend. This is an ETF with a monthly dividend attached to it. You get a 26 cents dividend per share on this. I invest in this. I buy this every month. I take a chunk of money from here, there, and I just pop it in there, and that's just kind of where that goes. I've talked about ETFs and dividends. I've talked about ETFs and mutual funds quite a bit. For people that even do that or care about that, I think everyone should invest in those for the long term. No matter what kind of trader you are, you should be putting money, off of your trades wherever. You should be long term getting into mutual funds, ETFs, and Schwab's been, that thing just had a stock split last year. I think it was last year. So it's just running back up. So if you're interested what's in that, look it up. Fantastic company. It's very divided what's in it. It's going to do great. And then SoFi. SoFi it is man. SoFi is going to run this coming year. I think SoFi is going to be in this conversation. I really do believe this. I believe that SoFi is going to do so well off this next quarterly Q4. We're already seeing the signs of this and what they're getting themselves into, that there's going to be a conversation coming down the road here, maybe next year, where people are going to be saying kind of what they're saying about Palantir in many ways, where it's like, this is overpriced, it's overvalued. Why is this stock so expensive? We could be getting into those kind of conversations with SoFi. Right now, I still think it's highly undervalued. There's probably not a lot of people that disagree with that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I think we're looking at something very special that's going to show itself here to investors in this very near future with what we're going into with bank stocks and where things could go next year. So SoFi, I am so bullish, it's pathetic. It's ridiculous. I think it's easy investment at this point. Tesla, I'm buying Tesla. I buy Tesla every week, every month. I am trying to get as much Tesla as I can going into the next decade. Now, yes, I said decade, but I have this really unhealthy, probably biased opinion about Tesla that I think they are going to essentially be the biggest and most controlling company in the future. And when I say that, I really mean that. I think they are going to control a lot of what goes on with cars, with structure of how day-to-day society runs. I really do believe that, with robots, robotaxi, Tesla, the vehicles, the EVs, everything else that will come out that we don't even know about yet. Tesla is definitely going to rule the roost here. So, friends, just a little, everyone constantly asks me, why don't you talk about other stocks? There's a little taste of what I think, people, those are good things to help you along the way. So let's talk about Big Bear. Let's talk about Palantir. Talking about stocks that I think maybe the right thing to do is maybe just hunker down with them, or hunker down and start acquiring more of them. I think Big Bear and Palantir are great examples of that. This is the thing when we talk about this AI collapse. What does this mean? What does the AI collapse mean? It's literally in every interview right now where a CEO, a big-time investor gets asked, do you think we're in an AI bubble? Do you think we're in an AI bubble? And generally, they all say the same thing. Like, it's hard to say when we're in an AI bubble when we're living in a world that is building on top of AI, when it's not really like it's going away. I think that's the safest thing to say. It's not going away. And that's the thing with the dot-com bubble. The internet did not go away, but the internet was this road that led us to money. And a lot of this with AI, we're looking at this where, essentially Elon's talked about this. A lot of these big tech people have talked about this, and it's hard to see right now, but essentially we're seeing it, we're not seeing it, where AI obviously will take over, make jobs easier, bring in money, but obviously too, it's doing some damage right now because it's taking away a lot of jobs that, people had, where AI is just taking over. So it's definitely going to make companies more money, and it definitely is. I mean, we just saw Big Bear do this $250 million deal for Sage. Now, what that's going to do, that's going to allow them and to allocate, bigger and better deals for them as a company. So, I don't think it's a thing of like AI is going to, you got to be very careful with this conversation, because it's not like AI is going to disappear. It's only going to get worse from here on out, 100%. And, these tech stocks, there's a lot of money circulating in this tech bubble with a lot of these companies. Absolutely. But there is new money in there too. And with that, as long as these tech stocks keep making money, at the end of the day, they're making money, and that's what we want to see. It's just kind of like, who's going to be at the end of the race here, standing up and saying like, we made it, we won. Palantir is very much this, I really do think still, even at these prices, even, Palantir, it's hard to say where Palantir is going to land right now because the market is so unstable. Like I said, the market is looking for any excuse to sell off. Wall Street can go sell it, and then it's looking for an excuse for say, hey, let's buy back in, let's ride this next wave. This has been the theme of the market all year, where we've had extremes on both sides. There hasn't been too many days in the market where it's just been like a normal day. There hasn't been like, today was just kind of normal. We had a little push up around, open, and then, we just kind of rode the wave of just a steady climb throughout the day. And, the market sold off towards the end of the day a little bit, then went right back up. We're not really seeing that lately. We're just seeing like, so it like I said, it's allowing these huge swing trades in the market right now. But these next 2 weeks in the market undoubtedly will be very interesting, and we're getting closer to December. And now that the government's opened back up, maybe just for, 40 days at this point, because, and like I said, I don't know if I said this, but the government's opened back up, but they're already talking about at the beginning of January, it could close right back down, because the stuff that they were worried about for the initial government shutdown here, well, they didn't solve it. Like, it's coming back up here in January. So, this could get a lot messier. And this next government shutdown, it could be a rough start to the year here, because this one will impact some issues that will affect the stock market, no doubt about it, with insurance companies. And Palantir here, really trying to say, what do we do right now? Do we buy Palantir? Do we buy Big Bear? We could have one or two big pushes in the market to end out the year here. Okay. Tom Lee, all these guys, a lot of these guys are still pushing for this big last push in the S&P 500, the Dow, the NASDAQ, are still on agreement that this is going to happen as of right now. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to be right. They're human. They can make mistakes, obviously, but a lot of them, like Tom Lee, have been very, very accurate, like spooky accurate this year with calling the markets. It's interesting what it's going to take at this point for the market to feel comfortable again. Things are obviously high. Even Palantir at this 170 level is still not good enough for a lot of bears, where they look at it and they go like, it's still too high. Obviously, mathematically breaking this down, it's still a very, very high stock. I am biased in this conversation because I do believe that Palantir is going to be more than what people think it's going to be. I do believe that Palantir is going to continue to take over and work with a lot more AI companies, just companies in general, just random companies out here. And right now, Palantir is becoming so big and unique, they're able to charge hefty price tags on top of, on their services here. And that's the thing here. Even if Palantir is just acquiring these $100 million, $200 million deals of what we've seen here lately, this is still a lot more money than what these other AI companies are getting. But the thing is, with Palantir, they're getting a lot of deals and they're compounding on top of each other. So that's a very unique situation we have going on there. I'm very much in the ballpark of believing that Palantir is going to be this $1 trillion, maybe even 5 to 10 years from now, $2 trillion market cap stock. I remember 4 years ago, people were so not against, but just, a pushback on Oracle stock. When you look back on Oracle stock the past 3-4 years, Oracle has done insane numbers, and Oracle now is making insane money. I mean, they are obviously working with this administration, but once a company becomes so wealthy, they can kind of just have their own ecosystem and do what they want to do, and we're seeing that now. We've seen that with a lot of companies. I mean, you can start from Amazon to Apple to NVIDIA, for God's sakes. In the next 5 years, could we see Palantir releasing, $3.5 million quarterlies, $5 million quarterlies? Could they get there that fast with revenue? Maybe. Who knows? We've seen companies in the past go from 5 million to 5 billion to 10 billion. We've seen NVIDIA is a great example of that. NVIDIA just 4 or 5 years ago was making 10-15 billion dollar quarterlies. Now they're making, by this time next year, $70 billion quarterlies if they keep going in this direction. So it's very interesting, what does this AI bubble collapse look like to you? That's a very real, interesting conversation right there. I think that Palantir is going to continue to do what Palantir is doing. We look at Palantir right now at this 172, and I think if you're making swing trades, I know this because, I have friends I have a buddy in particular that is a swing trader on the market, and, I know he's buying Palantir at this low 170 zone here because he's going to trade it. He's going to trade it. He knows that the second the market ticks back up, which could be tomorrow, even if it's not a huge wave of money coming back into the market tomorrow, nonetheless, we've seen this rodeo so many times at this point where the market has these aggressive days of selling off, and then the next day, it's not a floodgate of money coming back in. Not always, but, we've had that. But, Palantir could be back at 180 tomorrow. That's an aggressive walk back up right there. If you bought Palantir today, a clean slate, you bought in today at 172, you sell tomorrow, even at 178. Obviously you're paying a pretty penny here, but most swing traders are buying anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000 worth of stock in a single trade, or even day traders, whatever you're doing here. or maybe you're just buying for the long term. I think there's still a lot of us going that Palantir is still going to have aggressive runs at this point. And I'll say this one last thing about Palantir. One thing that Alex Karp has been hinting at here is he's talked about a sales force a lot. He's talked about that a lot this year. And, I definitely think that we've already seen that. This last big deal that Palantir got here, Alex essentially went out and got that deal, the Lumen deal. It was so aggressive of a deal to where Alex and the CEO of Lumen went on a talk show, a stock show, and they talked about it openly, where, Alex said he went into the CEO's office and pretty much pitched her, said like, hey, we'll make you more money, we'll save you more money. That right there is a sales pitch. Now, Alex has said this in the past about Palantir. They had not really set out people to find deals. Deals have come to them, and a lot of their exposure has come from those defense stocks that showed up 2-3 years ago at this point, and they've progressed here extensively. So, what does a sales force look like? A sales team look like with Palantir? Is it just Alex Karp essentially at this point going and talking to CEOs and getting deals on the spot? Could be. One thing that I do like about Alex Karp a lot is that he's got a big mouth, and I got a big mouth. So when I see a CEO with a big mouth, I go, yes. I wish Kevin from Big Bear would have more of a big mouth and give interviews and talk, but he doesn't, and that's okay. So the thing that I'm very interested in with this coming year here with Palantir is, even at $200 a share, I fully admit that is insane for Palantir. Okay, I mean, to get anywhere close to mathematically what the share price is compared market cap, all this kind of stuff, where they need to be releasing quarterlies, obviously needs to be extremely more aggressive. You're buying a lot into Palantir when you buy it. And we know right now, as of right now, this next quarterly, Q4 to wrap up the year, is going to be even better than Q3 here. So I imagine somewhere around Q4, Palantir could either be sitting around 190 to 230, somewhere around there, because of hype, because of what if, because I don't want to miss the boat, because of swing traders, day traders taking action of the moment. So it's hard to say that Palantir is going to sell down to 100, to 120, to 130. I know there's a lot of bears out there repeating and saying this, but with this AI collapse, what does it look like? From what it looks like to me is that it's going to show signs slowly. There's going to have to be signs. You're going to have to see some of these AI companies, these big ones, start to show signs of failure, not hitting where they should. Right now, it's so opposite. It's insane. That's why it's funny that this conversation is so thick out there right now, where it's like, this is the collapse. This is the AI collapse. I told you. Well, we just had all these AI companies report quarterlies, and some of them were the biggest the companies have ever had. Now, obviously, next week, NVIDIA is going to release their quarterlies, and that will tell us a lot more about what's going to happen here. But, friends, I'm sorry, man. I'm very bullish on Palantir. But like I said, 200, I don't know where we're going after that. If I had to guess, if you really wanted me to guess, like I said, Palantir going by Q4 going to 220, 230, 240, it's not that crazy to me. I go, okay, it kind of makes sense. I get it. Maybe they had some more deals. Maybe Q4 has the potential to be 1.5 billion. Wouldn't that shock the bears even more? They'd hate that. I think that's just the reality. The more you see it sell off, the more you're going to see it be bought back up on these extremely aggressive buy-in days with the market. That's kind of what we're seeing right now. In Big Bear, I don't want to talk about Big Bear too much because not a lot has happened here. Big Bear is trying to hold its head above water here with the market collapse. But I mean, even Big Bear holding this six middle position here, this is really encouraging. I mean, this is really good. This is nothing like what we dealt with Q2. When Q2 came out here, it was so bad that, Big Bear sold off, and it was like, oh God, here we go. Obviously with this quarterly, like I said, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but, just to bullet point this out here and kind of end this up, wrap this up here. Big Bear with that quarterly, it was just enough to keep us happy. It went up a little bit. They made $1 million more. Okay, great. We'll just slice it down the middle as that. Okay. But it was the fact that they're saying, hey, we have enough money now, no debt. We're reallocating money back into the company. We're buying this software. We are buying the most advanced, aggressive AI software that we can get right now because we're going to do more. We're going to get more deals. We're pushing this company. Okay, fantastic. There's a lot of competition out there. And as just like a lot of these, Dan Ives has said, it is essentially, and I think Alex Karp said this too, it is an AI arms race right now. Who can have the best AI security software, whatever that means. It can mean many different things. Big Bear is obviously pushing into this as well. And I really do believe that we are watching the beginning makings of something special here with Big Bear. I'm going to tell you, man, when I started buying Big Bear around this time last year, to be honest, this is essentially the anniversary. I think it was October, November. It was right around this time. Turkey time, when Big Bear received that first big, that got cut down a little bit, but still nonetheless, that first big defense deal. And this is when I came into contact with Big Bear that was sitting around, I don't know what, $1.50, $2.50, somewhere around there. And I was like, got a defense deal? That's really interesting. And as I dug into Big Bear, it was a mess of a company. There's no doubt about it. Kevin wasn't even CEO yet. And this has been a crazy ride with Big Bear since then. And obviously there's been a lot of restructuring. There's been a lot of things happening. But one thing that has shocked me with this company, and this is why I stand by Big Bear right now. This is why, even though this company is not releasing aggressive quarterlies, I'm standing by it right now. And I'm watching it because I think, I think the juice is worth the squeeze here if you're willing and able to hold on. But it could be a long hold here. Is the fact that this company has had such a redirection this year. I mean, I've been in the market for quite some time now. I can honestly say this is the biggest redirection in structure-wise of a company I have ever seen, aggressive-wise, in such a short time. You're talking about new CEO, top line down, person put here, person let go, going through this court case at the beginning of the year, still capturing deals, multiple defense deals, multiple airline deals, some other few just random little deals in there. The Panama Canal deal, Q1, okay, Q2, Q3, we'll take it. And then on this Q3, they reallocated money back into the company, making it better, their software, to say, hey, we're going to do something. And then on top of that, Kevin, the CEO, like that thing I read yesterday, in the newsletter of the quarterly here that was just released, Kevin said, hey, Big Bear is focusing on the next step of border control security, where this big, beautiful bill money will be allocated with that. And Big Bear is hopeful that they will continue to push into those. I forget how he worded it, but, I'm speaking out here, but be a part of what's going on here in the near future. So with that, to me that is a massive breadcrumb. That is a massive, like, hey, we pretty much have been talking to the government, to the feds here, and it's gonna happen. Just wait for us. Why would he say that? Why would Kevin say that? That's a pretty big statement for Kevin to say. He doesn't have to say that at all. It's pretty telling, if you ask me what's coming here. So, I can be paranoid. I get that, but the fact that he said that in the quarterly statement, that's pretty insane. Friends, what a time to be an investor. What a time to be an investor. I want to wish all of you the best of luck. I really do appreciate you listening to me yap my gums here. I hope all of you have a fantastic day. I really do mean that, friends. And there's money to be made in this market. It's going to be an interesting 2 weeks. We'll see what this looks like with the government opening back up. The rest of the week, I don't know, could just be a washout here on Friday, but we'll see what happens here. Nonetheless, like I said, for me, this is a time to hunker down, buy more, because the companies that I'm buying, I feel really good about going into 2026 with. And that's kind of my mindset right now. I'm looking into 2026. What is next year going to look like for me as an investor? I think that's where maybe that might be a safe place to be right now. Maybe not, I know a lot of people may want to take this one day at a time, and that's a smart thing to do, but really think about what you want to walk into 2026 with, with what your portfolio, where you want to be with it. So, yeah. I'm done talking. Bye, everyone. Bye.